Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to revisit a brewery that you saw me review for the first time only quite recently, and I'm very curious to see how this beer turns out because the last one that I had from them was really just a very nice, quite sessionable ale. So for this one we are going to return once again to Strängnäs, just out to the west of Stockholm, and we're doing my second beer review from the Mälardalen Brewing Company. So this one is called the Phoenix. It's a red ale coming in at 5.6%, and I'm actually very curious to see if this one is anything similar to an Irish red ale, because one of the owners of this brewery is Irish. But if you've watched the channel before, you will know that I absolutely love red ales, you know, imperial red ales. One of the best beers I ever had was actually it was an imperial red ale from 8 Wire Brewing Company called First Blood down in New Zealand. That's one of my favourite beers that I've ever had, and I only ever had it once on tap, and I've never been able to find it again. So since then I've always absolutely loved this red ale style, so I always enjoy reviewing these beers whenever I get the chance to. And this is a brewery, as I say, that seem to do some quite nice, very sessionable ale, so hopefully this is another beer that follows in that kind of same light as I've seen with them previously. So I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one, and I'm very curious to see what it has to offer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from the Mälardalen Brewing Company before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, as I always do, to tell you a little bit about the brewery itself then. So as I mentioned to you earlier, Mälardalen Brewing Company are based in Strängnäs, and they were founded by Jens Schempe, who is Swedish, and Kieran Blake, who is Irish, back in 2015. But both of these guys have backgrounds in the pharmaceutical industry, and they're colleagues at Pfizer, one of the big pharmaceutical companies, of course. But they started brewing together before deciding to kind of expand this little hobby that they had into a fully fledged business. And I think Kieran, the article that I read was from 2016, and it said that he had lived in Sweden for around 6 years, fell in love with a Swedish woman, because you know the Swedish women do have a certain thing about them. And he eventually stayed, as many of us do. Sweden's a very good place to stay. But their brewery started off with a 1,000 litre system, and they've also developed quite an interesting brewing technique as well, that it uses bags inside the tanks. And this is very cool, because what it does is it means that they can use less water, and it also means that they don't have to use the cleaning agents as well. So it's actually a very, very environmentally friendly technique for brewing, and they've actually put a patent on this too, which will be quite interesting going forward. The article that I read on that, I believe, was from 2017, so I'll be very curious to see how they take that forward from here. But they do have their own brewery pub as well, which serves about 6 of their own beers on tap at any one time, and if you look at their Facebook feed, they seem to have beers from all over the world. I did see they had an Innocent Gun beer back from my native Scotland as well. But they also run a system where you can buy a membership for the brewery as well, and it's almost kind of similar to crowdfunding in that you can buy this membership and you get a little bit of discount on the beer and things like that. You can get brewery tours and stuff like this, and it's quite closely modelled, from what I understand, on the on what the guys at Eskilstuna Ölkultur do, which is another very interesting local brewery from up there. But yeah, really interesting little brewery, this one, and as I always say in these videos, I do like introducing you to these very new and small Swedish breweries, and this is one that I hadn't heard of actually until I saw them on the release list in January of 2019, and this is one that has just been re-released from what I understand, and they've changed their artwork quite recently on this beer as well. They released this one along with the Mental IPA, which you will have seen me review a couple of videos back. So yeah, really interesting brewery, this one. Very nice kind of small company that's just started up, and there really is a big culture of home brewing here in Scandinavia these days, so a lot of these little breweries will continue to pop up over the next little while. But that's all you really need to know about the Mälardalen Brewing Company. The name, of course, comes from the region in which this brewery is located. Basically, it's the Mälar Valley Brewery, and the Mälar Valley is that, you know, that big kind of lake region that you have out to the west of Stockholm. and I think the Mälar region might actually be the eastern side of that. But yeah, basically the Mälar Valley Brewery, if you want to translate that into English completely. But yeah, really interesting little brewery, as I said. If you want to learn a little bit more about them, do check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and keep up to date with all the latest goings on. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork on this one before we open it up. There you can see a really nice, impressive piece of artwork on this one. I really like the artwork that they've put on these two new bottles that they've done. It's very kind of tasteful and quite modern. But yeah, 5.6% radio this one. I'm not sure if it's meant to be an Irish radio, but I guess we can maybe tell a little bit about that when we have a taste of the beer. There you can see plain golden bottle cap on this one, and this beer is apparently best before the 19th of January, sorry, the 19th of June 2019. My brain's not quite working on this one at the moment, but yeah, it says served between 7 and 10 degrees. I've had it out of the fridge for about 15-20 minutes, so it should hopefully be up to about 6 or 7 degrees at the moment. But yeah, nice looking beer, this one. There you can see the Mälardalen Brewing Company symbol there. And it also tells you in the text here just a little bit about the brewery and them starting up and things like that. But yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. As I say, a 5.6% radio, a style of beer that I really do quite enjoy. And I will say, if you're searching for this one on the Systembolaget website, it's listed under an amber ale rather than a red ale. But yeah, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. But you can see as soon as you pour this one, it pours a lovely kind of mahogany colour, I would say. Yeah, it's actually a lot darker than I was thinking it would be on the pour, but you can see through the camera it actually comes across as a very nice sort of dark ruby colour as well. Definitely a nice sort of dark chestnutty mahogany colour, this one. There's a solid finger or so, I would say, of a frothy, quite creamy beige colour head, this one. If I put that right up to the camera, you can see just that colour that I'm talking about. It's a lovely sort of creamy beige colour on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there, but a lovely kind of ruby edge to this one. But definitely in terms of its colour, if you hold it right up to the light, it's quite an interesting mahogany colour, this one. So yeah, just keep that in mind when you have a look at this beer. So there's nothing overall surprising about this one when you consider the fact that it is a red ale in terms of its appearance, but it looks like a very, very nice beer. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, now what I'll say about this one is, straight off, it smells like it really smells like a sort of English real ale, if that makes sense. And that tells me, the sort of graininess that this beer has, tells me that I think this one is going to basically be an Irish red ale. The Irish red ales do have that typical kind of grainy, bready malt base to them. The American ones, regardless of what style it is the Americans get a hold of, when they get a hold of one of these old world beer styles, they do actually change it and make it a lot sweeter and kind of fruitier and things like that. So this one, I get the feeling, will be quite a classic Irish red ale. But yeah, definitely a good bit of a kind of grainy quality to this one. A lot of grainy spice coming out of it. It's almost, it's really, it smells like some of these it definitely smells like some of these English cask ales. And one thing I will say is that when I was in England, it was a style that I never really enjoyed. The English bitter was one that I never really enjoyed, but the slightly more sweeter quality that you got from the Irish red ales was something that I always really quite enjoyed. Just that bit of sweetness could make this beer turn out very well. And one thing I've always found is when you get an English bitter that's brewed in Sweden and they use the American hops, the Swedes make a pretty good job of it, I have to say. But this one really reminds me a lot of that. It's definitely got a bit of that cereal quality to it. This one, it's almost like it has a little bit of red rye or something like that in it. There's definitely an almost rye-ish quality to the malt base in this beer. But yeah, lovely big bready aromas. There's a little bit of a biscuity sweetness as well. It reminds me of the McVitie's Digestives, although the graininess is a little bit more. Yeah, definitely a little touch of caramel in there. And the brown sugary notes that you get out of this beer are a little bit more roasty, toasty kind of thing. I do like what the way the aroma in this one goes together, and I've always found that with these Swedish beers that tend to be modelled on the more kind of English, Irish, Scottish ales, they do tend to have a nice blend of things in them. But yeah, big sort of bready malt base, a lot of kind of red rye-ish quality to it as well, a little bit of brown sugar, a little bit of biscuit in there. On the hoppy side of things, little touch of earthiness. There is a bit of a red fruity quality coming out of this one as well, some figs, a little bit of raisin maybe, but it's also got a little bit of this almost strawberry, raspberry kind of thing coming out of it as well. It's almost got a little bit, it reminds me a little bit of these Munch Bunch yogurts that my mum used to put in my lunchbox when I was when I was yay high and going to school. It's got a little bit of that almost candied red fruit quality to it. So as I always say with these beers, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. But we are now going to have a taste of this one. So this one is the Phoenix Red Ale from the Mälardalen Brewing Company in Strängnäs, just out to the west of Stockholm here in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. It's Slange at Skull, coming in at 5.6%. Cheers. Oh yeah, that one to me is definitely an Irish red ale, and when one of the owners is Irish, when Kieran Blake is Irish, it's not surprising that they do have a red ale in their kind of repertoire, if you like. And this is a nice example. Again, now that I think about it, I have had one or two red ales from Sweden. I remember having one from Lervig in Norway as well, and most of the ones you will get here tend to be they do tend to be more based on the American version of this style, but this one is definitely, I think this might actually be the first Irish red ale that I've had that was brewed in Sweden. This is a style that I don't get to review all that often. I think the last one that I reviewed was actually an Irish brewed one. But yeah, this is a nice beer. Again with this one, what I'll say about this beer is it's not one of these, really big beast of beers that you're going to get from the likes of Beer Bibliotek, Dugas, Stigbergets, and companies like that. This is one of these beers again where it's quite a nice sort of sessionable, kind of drinkable ale actually. And it's definitely it's another one of these, and I said the same about the IPA, the Mental IPA. I'm sure I said that this was one where it's all about, it's a beer that's intended, I think, to be paired with food, and that's just the impression I get from the things that these guys are brewing. They do seem to be intended to go with certain dishes and stuff like that. I think these beers are sort of your restaurant type kind of food pairing beers, but it's a nice Irish red ale, this, and they do seem to do this sort of sessionable food pairing-y type beer quite well, this brewery. So check them out if that's the sort of thing that you're looking for with your craft beers. Right, yeah, so with this one then, let's focus on the malt base straight off, so you can feel a nice little bit of that smooth bready quality just blanket in the middle of your palate. On top of that, very quickly you start to get this kind of grainy quality to it. I think there is a little bit of a rye-ish quality to this one. You've definitely got a little bit of that in there. It's almost like a kind of red rye quality. The further you go into the aftertaste with that, the more this kind of grainy quality starts to come out of the beer. Yeah, so with this one, you have got that malt base. I'm finding the malt base is getting sweeter the further into the flavour that you go. In the centre of your palate, again, you get this nice sort of slightly caramelly malt quality to it. And it's always interesting with this. I think I said the same about the IPA as well. The way the centre of the palate in this one is quite sweet. And it's always interesting when you see you can actually see the techniques of brewers, the more beers you drink from the same brewery. But yeah, it's got this lovely little bit of sweet caramelly quality in the middle. It's almost like a little bit of a toasty brown sugar that comes out of it. And the further that you go out from the centre of your palate, you start to get more of this kind of biscuity, grainy, sort of digestive. It's almost like a sort of corn syrupy flavour in there. But the further into the aftertaste you go, the more pronounced these sort of rye-ish flavours are that come out of this beer. I'm not sure that it is quite rye, but there's definitely a good bit of a cereally presence from this one. Sorry, I don't think I pronounced that very well. But yeah, the way the malt base in this one goes together, again, it's all about how these flavours just blend together. This one's going to complement the likes of beef and, you know, steaks and things like that very, very well. I think, you know, a salt and peppery steak I think would go lovely with this beer. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer then, in the back corners of the palate you've got a nice little bit of earthiness from the hops there. That kind of spreads forward a little bit. I do get the impression that there's English hops being used in this one. I don't know if there is actually Irish hop varieties. It's something that I've never encountered over the while that I've been doing this channel. But yeah, the further forward you come on the sides of the palate of this one, that earthiness just spreads out a little bit. You do get a little bit of a floral aromaticity at the front corners of the palate, then round the very front curve of the tongue it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, and behind the front curve of the palate, of course, you get that little oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And again, the aromas that come out in the fruits that come out in the aroma of this beer are kind of reflected in the flavour of it as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, it's almost got a little touch of a medicine-y kind of quality to it in there. There's maybe a little bit of phenol in this one, but yeah, with this beer, you've definitely got a sort of darker, is that sort of datey quality to it maybe, but the further into the aftertaste you go, you start to get a little bit of the candied strawberry, maybe even a little touch of a raspberry figgy kind of quality to this beer as well. It's got an almost kind of cakey flavour coming out of it as well. The flavours that are coming out of this beer really remind me of sultanas rather than raisins. It's definitely got a little bit of an almost it's definitely got something a bit more to it than just red fruit, and the sultanas, of course, you've got a few other dried things in there rather than just the sort of the grapes, if you like. But yeah, there's a lot of red fruity quality to this one, as I say, sort of candied strawberry, a little bit of raspberry and things like that as well. But yeah, I like how everything is going together in this one. This is definitely one of these beers where it's all about how these flavours blend together. And at 5.6%, you know, it's got an impressive level of complexity to it as well. So that's another thing that you have to compliment this one on. The further into the aftertaste you go, more of that sort of grainy, biscuity quality comes out of it. And in the centre of your palate, you've got that nice sort of sweeter caramelly note to it as well, which is very, very interesting. So yeah, just pay attention to that with this beer. This is definitely one that's got a lot of interesting flavours coming out of it. And as I say, I think this is my first Irish red ale that I'm reviewing for from Sweden actually. And again, it's a style that the Swedes seem to do quite well. So hopefully I can find a few more Swedish brewed Irish red ales to have a look at for you. In terms of the mouthfeel then, definitely a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation's very smooth. Good little bit of oily quality to this one, but at the same time the beer has a little bit of wetness that gives it some sessionability. Little bit of IBU from this beer, you know, I think, you know, a little, you know, around 30 IBUs from the hops. There is a little bit of bitterness from the malts in this one. It's got a little bit of that kind of quality from the malt base as well, but some nice juicy fruity qualities in there, and the malt base is balanced out a little bit with some sort of biscuity and caramelly sweetness as well. But overall, really interesting beer this one, and it's been very cool to review my first Irish red ale that's been brewed in Sweden. So I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one, and we'll leave it at that for this. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from just to get the pronunciation right again, the Mälardalen Brewing Company in this one. But yeah, another interesting kind of restaurant-y type beer. This very good for food pairing, and I'm glad that I was able to review this for you. So once again, thank you for watching my reviews, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Phoenix Red Ale from the Mälardalen Mälardalen Brewing Company, sorry, from Strängnäs, just out to the west of Stockholm. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål.